no muffler on it, it's still quieter than a John Deere. That's the Farmall way. Quiet like a sewing machine. Well, to quote my buddy, Farmall Fanatic, welcome to Farmall Friday. Got all the Farmalls out today, and what I want to do is get them winterized and figure out how I'm going to store them all for the winter. First thing I want to do is, I got the Super C warming up a little bit, so I'm going to dump the oil out of it, put fresh oil in it, and I've got everything cleaned out of the tractor shed up there. I've got the John Deere down back here where the 140 was. Now the Cub here, this one, the 78, doesn't have a high exhaust on it, so I can park that underneath the barn with a 48. So I think I can cram 3 in here if I put 1 this way and 2 this way. So anyway, welcome to Farmall Friday, winterizing tractors. A little bit of love for the Super C. Stick around. If you haven't already, please take a moment, hit subscribe. Love to have you with the channel. And let's get started fixing these tractors up for winter. Alright, for the Farmall Super C, it's a little different than the 200 and the 140, where even the Cubs, they all have dipsticks. This tractor does not. This tractor has test cocks on it, so like the John Deere, it's pretty similar, and we're going to go ahead and get into that here in a second. Alright, let's see if I can get this right this time. Last time I thought I had OEM Cub filters, but that was not the case. I had OEM Super C filters. And you know, one thing I want to note, and I can't tell you what year it happened, but at some point IH went with their 140 in particular, they went to a spin-on filter. Now you can buy these kits still with the filter, and I don't think it's terribly expensive, but it's a whole spin-on deal where you just basically remove your old filter and you can put this spin-on filter on, and this replaces the old cartridge type filter. So anyway, the 73 140 that I have has a spin-on filter. The 78 Cub still has a cartridge. So just something interesting to note on. So we don't need too much for the Super C oil change. We need a filter, we need a crescent wrench, and we need a bucket and a rag. I know they make an aftermarket manual for the Super C, but this one's a little worse for the wear. And so we're going to go to maintenance. There's a delivery report right there with a serial number on it. Interesting. Lubricating, engine oil, engine crankcase, 5 quarts. So we're going to go do most of this lubrication today. We're going to do the engine crankcase, the cleaner cup. We'll check the distributor, generator, cranking motor, and the transmission. We're not going to touch that today. Steering gear housing, we're not going to get into that. Touch control, we've already done that in a previous video, and we've already greased everything, so it's just going to be a pretty mild lubrication today. One thing I want to make note of is I've got the front end here angled off to the side, and that makes it easier to get to this plug here. If you've got a wide front end, you can disregard because obviously you don't have a problem, but with a narrow front end, it's a lot easier to change the oil if you angle the tires over. So just food for thought. Go ahead and loosen up this drain plug on here. And we don't want to go fishing for the plug either, so this is going to come out with a bloop when it comes off. So and that's pretty nasty. It hasn't been changed in a bit. My brother told me last year when I bought it I needed to change the oil in it, and I haven't yet, so now it is. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and loosen these up because they're going to be loosened up anyway. So here you got your oil filter, and these are again cartridge filters. My cousin bought a Napa recently, so I've been buying more stuff at Napa than I used to. Put that over here for safekeeping. One thing some people forget is right here you've got a little drain that goes on your filter. So you have to take that out too. And again, it's just a little pipe plug. Fortunately, this tractor's always got maintenance, so nothing is seized up on it like the Cub was. It's just make sure you don't lose it down in the drain, because you've got, well, a drain, and I don't even know how to get it out because the thing's sealed. If it went down the little hole. He bought a Case IH one. That's what he used last time. I have them drop shipped to the house. I hate Baldwin filters. They just they're not right. Not one time have I gotten one that's right. Like, it sits right, but it doesn't have the little neck on it. So, lesson learned, I don't buy Baldwin anything anymore. I just think they're cheap garbage. It looks like this original IH filter is exactly the same as this Case IH one. So, looks like it's getting an original IH filter this time. I've got a couple extras, and what else am I going to do with them? I don't collect them, so I'll put it in there. A lot of these, it's funny, the Case IH ones, and I think the IH ones too, they didn't come with the gasket. You had to buy the gasket separate. But you got to dig it out because it sits down in there. So there's your gasket. You got to make sure you take that out. It's like with a regular oil change, you want to make sure you oil that gasket. So you want to make sure you get a good seal on it. So I'm going to take the oil down here and just put my finger in it a little bit. Just like on your car or anything that uses a spin-on filter, we don't need to crank that super hard. Just snug it up. And we're going to test it anyway, make sure nothing's leaking. And we got our plug. We'll make sure to wipe this back off. Alright, here's our plug for the bottom. We'll clean this out. You can get washers for these. You can buy new plugs. Again, it's just a pipe plug. But you want to get all that sludge out of there. See the washer? Sometimes those are missing, but you got to have that washer on there. It's just I think it's a brass washer, but make sure you don't lose that. Tighten that up. Not too much, just enough. And while I'm here, I'm going to take this cup off. It doesn't have the tuna can handle on it. Those of you who are a little bit older know what I'm talking about. And just drop it down straight and then dispose of that. That's kind of sludgy too. So I got a little bit of kerosene here. I'll clean it out with kerosene. I'm sure there are other things you can use to clean it out, but kerosene's what it says. Kerosene's what we'll do. A little paintbrush. Just kind of get in there and work that sludge out. And then we're just gonna, there's a full line right here, which actually is indented on the inside, so it's really hard to screw it up. And the inside circle and the outside circle have holes in them. The hard part for me is to get this little ring back around, there's a lip on this and a lip on the air cleaner. So they need to mate and also go inside here. And if you don't do it right, the first time you start your tractor up, the oil cleaner cup will fall off and you'll have a mess. It takes 5 quarts. My brother put Shell Rotella straight grade SAE 30 in this for the longest time, so that's what I'm putting in it. Some people will run high detergent oils in their tractors, and if you've just rebuilt your motor, then go for it. But if you've got an old tractor that hasn't been rebuilt and you put detergent oil in there and start breaking loose crud, you could get it all in the oil pan, which is where it should go, but then it'll plug up your sump on occasion. And if your sump is plugged up, you're not putting oil back into the crankcase, so then you've got an issue. So if you're going to use high detergent oil in a tractor that's old, you've got to change the oil a whole bunch of times. And I don't know what that number is. I don't know how often it is. I just know I've always been told old machinery runs straight 30 weight oil in it. And knock on wood, I haven't been burned by it. All right, when you look, you see the oil coming out right here? So this is your bottom test cock. So we're going to close that one. And now we're going to put oil in it until it comes out of this one. See the oil coming out right here? So we're going to close this now. Now I'm going to start the tractor and let it run for a second. That'll pour oil in the filter, and that'll make the level of the oil go down, probably about half a quart anyway. So then we'll come back and check it again. Junk on there. All right, make sure it's in neutral. Switch on. Because we didn't have oil here, so it took a second for the system to pressurize. Go off again and see what it looks like. All right, we'll add a little bit more oil in there. Check the antifreeze. It says, well, it's floated all the way up, so it's good to at least -45, so that's good to go. Depending upon which generator you have, you may have 2 little cups, or you may just have one. This one just has one right here, and you just want to put a couple of squirts in there. You don't want to over oil it, because then you get oil and gum and grease on your commutator, and if that happens, that means that you're going to overly wear your brushes. So just a little bit, it's one of those things where a little bit goes a long ways, and that holds true with your generator lubrication. So I've done this, the cup, generator, crankcase, and we're going to go put this up in the shed. You don't want to over oil it, because then you get oil and gum and grease on your commutator, and if that happens, that means that you're going to overly wear your brushes. So just a little bit, it's one of those things where a little bit goes a long ways, and that holds true with your generator lubrication. So I've done this, the cup, generator, crankcase, and we're going to go put this up in the shed. Well, I got one in here so far, and I got the Super C put away. What I want to do now is I want to take this knife out of the 55. When you look at it, it's got a lot of wee-waws in it, so that's not going to cut worth a crap the way it is. I don't know how they even used it, but when you sight down that knife, the fingers are fine, but there's a lot of space. See where the ledger plate and the knife is right there? The knife sections. You can see it. That is way too much of a gap. That's not going to cut for crap. Too much of a gap, not going to cut for crap. And I got a broken finger here, so we'll take that off. I don't need to fix that right now, but I just want to get the knife out of it, and then I can work on the knife over the winter. In theory, this should come right out. It's going to have to go back out this way. Alright, this 200, charged the battery. I've tested the radiator, and I've added stuff to the gas. And now I'm not taking the knife out of this one, so I'm just lubricating all the surfaces between the fingers and the knife sections, because I do not want that to stick. Knife out of that, but let's see if it starts. According to my calculations, the way I've got stuff put up there, I can get the 140 in with like this much room on each side, so let's see if it fits. I hope this has been entertaining for you, and I appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you.